Hey, this is Danny from Eurovision Stars Voyager, and you are tuned into Side Jams with Bryan Reesman.
Greetings, everyone. This is Bryan Reesman, host of Side Jams, the show where we talk to musicians about their outside passions and their hobbies. And today we have musician, actor, songwriter, author, and graphic novel author, and
show host, voiceover, Broadway. You're missing a lot on my list, but thank you.
I could keep going on. And
yeah, we only have so much time in the show.
And philanthropist, of course, because I wanted to talk to you about your charity work, because that's something that, you know, a lot of musicians do it. Some of them don't. Some of them are not super loud about it. I always gotten the vibe that you do your thing, that you try to do as much as you can, without like trumpeting it too loud. I think like you just sort of seem to do it because you want to do it.
Well, the running joke is, is we got to make up for the '80s somehow. That's my tagline. But I have won a few awards for my philanthropy, but I was told by one of them, it's a short list of people who are actually, people donate a guitar or people they'll do a thing, but people who start chair a charity or start up something or are proactive. They said the list is very short and those people are few and far between. And, and that's a shame because you've been given a certain degree of influence, through your success of your career. And it's a great opportunity to try to help others and lift others up. And, certainly, I feel like I was lifted up, not in a charitable way, but certainly I was pulled out of the masses and given a chance and a voice. And so, now, it's almost like at this point in my life, I feel like it's my job to speak out, speak up, lift up, encourage people, inspire people to do more, be better, all those things. And, it's kind of where I'm at career-wise now. When
did you first start, working for charity, like, either donating money or trying to raise money?
I know exactly where it was. And matter of fact, it's documented. Mick Foley, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Mick Foley, Mankind, and Cactus Jack, and Dude Love, and all those characters. He and I became very good friends. We lived near each other on Long Island, and we met and we connected. And so one day, Mick does insane amount of charity, and without making a big deal about it. Amazing. I could, that's a whole nother subject. I mean, put it this way, on his spare time, and a man's married and he's got three or four kids, he called up Make-A-Wish and he said, listen, can you give me some more Make-A-Wish kids? And they said, Mick, we do, it does, the way we do it is different celebrities, it's, and he says, no. I don't want to do anything official. Just give me some in my area so I can call them and just, and just talk to them.
Yeah.
And Mick would just, in his spare time, go and knock on doors and just show up at kids' houses that he knew were dying of cancer or whatever, and were fans of his, and hang out and watch TV with them. So I'm watching this guy, and it's in one of his books. It's a chapter of Uncle Dee. And he called me one day and says, listen, I'm visiting a kid in the hospital. He's got leukemia, whatever it was. He said, he's a big fan of yours. Would you come with me? I said, yeah. So I went to the hospital and met this kid and saw what the kid got out of it, out of just that moment that, and when Mick drove me home, I said, Mick, you made me a better man today. I'm getting a little choked up because I was so I was so I said, look at what Mick does and look what you don't do. So at that point, that was when I started, and it was in the early 2000s, I would say. Yeah, around 2001, where I said, I need to do more. I need to give back. I need to say yes and not just send a guitar, So, and by the way, celebrities get these invitations, these offers, these, these opportunities to do more. And most of us just, like blow it off or, send them an autographed picture or something. So I just at that point I said, thank you, Mick Foley, for waking me up and showing me that we can help and there's something more that we need to do.
Was this before the 9/11 concert you guys did at the Hammerstein when you guys got back together?
9/11, hard to say. That was 2001. It was right around that time, I'd have to say, because I met him when I was doing mornings in Hartford radio, and then we became friends. So it was around that time. I don't know if it was before or after, but again, it's thanks to Mick Foley. So so I've been involved with a number of different charitable causes, and I'll continue. And I've got one that I'm just getting into now.
What's it called?
Well, it doesn't have a name yet. It's brand new, and I'm working with some people. But someone came to me. It started. Wow, this is really. We would talk. So I have this book called this graphic novel called "He's Not Going to Take It," and a number of people ask me, what's my greatest concern about freedom of speech? And I said, and I never thought about it until this was being interviewed for that book and for that graphic novel. And I said that people don't understand what the First Amendment means.
Right. That
they're operating under the misconception that the intent of the First Amendment is that you can say anything you want, anytime you want, with, and that's freedom of speech.
And
it's not freedom of speech. It was never designed, the First Amendment was never designed to protect you from bullying people online, saying things that aren't true about people online. That's not freedom of speech. That's hurt speech, and that is with intent to hurt emotionally or physically or ruin people's lives. That was never protected in the First Amendment. I don't care what Elon Musk tells you. He's an anarchist freedom of speech person. That is not what it's about. I'm getting involved. We're starting a new thing. It's charitable in the sense that we want to go to schools and educate young people, because that's really the older people are set in their ways, and you might be able to get them to change or grow, but it's unlikely. The way to affect change really is to reach out to the young kids. That's how they got people wearing seatbelts. That's how only you can prevent forest fires, because the kid's saying, "Dad, don't throw that cigarette out the window. Only you can prevent forest fires." It starts with the young people. So this new charitable effort that I'm doing is going to hopefully, inform young people as to what the First Amendment is and what responsibilities come with our God-given right of free speech.
Well, it's interesting. Like, I look at my mom, and my mom for years and years has just given money to people will send her stuff. She stopped doing it lately because she's getting overwhelmed. As soon as you donate, you get like 1 million more in the mail.
Yeah, I've been down that path.
She would give to a lot of, like, a little bit of money here and there. And I wonder if younger people, you're seeing, like, people. I mean, your kids aren't teenagers now, but like the older, like, I wonder what their generation is like. I wonder what teenagers are like in terms of thinking that way. If they give as much money, or do you see that maybe they need to be made more aware of the fact that we should try to help out at certain times?
I think that charitable work comes with maturity in a lot of ways, though you do see young people who are, are doing service within their communities and things like that. And there's plenty of them out there. But I think the real understanding comes when people get a little bit older. Like, I work with the motorcycle community a lot. Incredibly generous group of people. And these aren't necessarily, and the range goes from plumbers to teachers to lawyers, doctors, it's not, you can't really put a finger. You don't know when you get into the community, when we're all on our Harley Davidsons wearing a leather jacket and a pair of jeans and a helmet, it's hard to tell who's who until you start talking to them. But this community, I discovered, will turn out one weekend for my, thing for children's cancer and March of Dimes. And the next week it's breast cancer. And the week after that, it's a food drive. And the week after, like, they go weekend after weekend, and they're constantly giving. I don't know what it is about that community that has this awareness that there's a need, but I knew very well that they weren't just showing up for my event because, oh, Dee is calling us. No, it was Dee this weekend, but it was another group, American Cancer Society the next week, or breast cancer awareness the weekend after that. So, and these are, weren't mostly young people. They were mostly, people hitting their 30s and 40s and older, where they just seemed to have this understanding that it was our job to help.
And you're still doing that annual biker ride, right?
After 18 years, it ended. COVID really did it in, and COVID, and then it was sort of down for like 3 years, and then I moved out to the West Coast, and it just sort of, a lot of things unfortunately lost, their steam during that time. But getting involved with other things and trying to do other things to create other situations, there's plenty of people out there that need help. That's for sure.
One of the times you're on Celebrity Apprentice, your team won a fundraising contest, and I think you donated over $300,000 to March of Dimes.
I was the national spokesperson for the March of Dimes Bikers for Babies, traveling around the country doing these rides, and so that was very much my charity of choice at that time. I was on Celebrity Apprentice, and their main thing was premature birth, and I had 2 prematurely born kids. A lot of times we're drawn to charities that we can sort of understand it, like we have a personal connection to, whether it's family members or whatever. I've worked with autism awareness. I've got 2 low functioning nephews. So a lot of times, for the celebrity or whoever's leading it, it's because they have a personal connection. And it helps you have a better understanding when you've got it and you're dealing with it in your own family, when you've been in those premature baby wards and seen your kid nearly die. It connects you when you see your nephews growing up and you see them getting older and older, and you see what lies ahead for a low functioning autistic person. Again, it just gives you a greater appreciation. It shouldn't be like that necessarily, but a lot of times that's what connects people to a particular cause.
I mean, you've had a lot of them over years. I mean, I know that I just found this thing from a while back. It was the Harry Chapin Memorial Humanitarian Award. You were awarded that in 2014, actually.
Yeah.
You've already been involved with a lot of stuff. You've also been involved with Debbie Gibson's foundation, the Gibson Girl Foundation, the Station Family Fund. I know that terrible tragedy.
I was greatly involved with the Station Family Fund, and that was the fire, the Rhode Island nightclub fire, that was just so undersupported and so underappreciated, respected. As I said many times, if it had been U2 in an arena, that fire, the Pope would have showed up. I mean, it would have been an international outcry. But the fact there was an 80s hair band in a little podunk bar in a small town on a Thursday night, and just some blue-collar Janes and Joes, nobody gave a shit. You know what I mean? And that was tragic. Fortunately, we were, with the help of some friends, we were able to do something significant eventually and help those people out, but not after years and years of being ignored and suffering, and it was just awful what happened to those people up there. But I forgot about that.
How much did you manage to raise for that? Was it like a?
Well, this was a thing. There was nothing, no support because it was a blue state during the Bush when Bush was running. Yeah. They got nothing. There was no money came at all to help these people, and there was and people. I was trying to get something going after 5 years, and just got such pushback, an unwillingness of the biggest bands. But eventually, and credit to Troy Luccketta, the former drummer of Tesla, who were always trying to they were doing little things, raising just little bits of money, but you were dealing with like insane medical bills, like thousands and thousands of dollars a day in the burn wards. I mean, it was crazy the amount of people. 60 kids were orphaned on at that event. I mean, just nuts. So eventually, thanks to Troy giving me the push, we took another shot at it, and we gathered a ragtag bunch of country musicians, Bravo, John Rich from Big and Rich, and Gretchen Wilson, and Dierks Bentley, and Tom Schultz, and Carmine Appice, and Twisted
Wow.
Sister, and Tesla. We managed, and VH1 got on board, and we got together at the arena in Rhode Island, in Providence, and we put on a broadcast show, and we raised some money. And he was like, well, you raised, $500,000. But it was like $75,000 a day for the burn unit. It was like, we couldn't do anything. But the event reawakened the awareness, and the lawyers and the insurance companies and the judges, all who were deadlocked about paying out, broke their freeze and paid out over like $75 million to the fund. And when I say people were made whole, of course they weren't made whole, but at least they got the insurance money, and they were no longer living on couches, having lost their homes because they couldn't work. So we were able, in a weird way, and that's what I always tell people, charity work isn't just about what you do on the day of the event, how many people show up, and how much money you raise that day. It's about the awareness you raise for the cause while promoting it. Those people who hear about it because you were talking about it, and then maybe not now, but maybe the next time they'll write a check, or they'll throw some money in the bucket, or whatever. So, these events are not just about raising the money. You got to always remember it's raising awareness that the need is out there.
Like when people approach you, I'm sure a lot of people have, you've talked about it. What criteria do you have to get involved with? For example, like this new charity, what's the criteria for you to get involved with something like that? What needs have to be met for you?
It's interesting that there's this huge charitable fund out there that's looking for causes to support. And they came to me and said, is there anything that you would like to do? I've never had that happen before. In these other events, I've sort of like starting at ground zero and building them up, or getting involved with the Harry Chapin thing came from our work with his food bank that he started on Long Island. And I was involved with them for a number of years. But they contacted me and said, listen, we've got money for good charitable causes. Is there something you would like to do? And that was a first. So, man, my mind started racing, but I had just come off this Comic-Con, and I really am concerned about free speech and the way it's being misused and also abused. I'm concerned about the super PC, super woke, cancel culture. You can't say that, and that's got people censoring themselves to a point where it's ridiculous because they're afraid to say something. And then you've got the others who are, fake news people who are on there manipulating pictures and manipulating articles and writing things and posting things and creating falsehoods knowingly under the heading, well, this is my free speech. No, that's not. And squashing people from speaking comfortably, freely, without ill intent, that's not a proper that's not free speech for sure. So I just have this real concern that people just have lost an understanding of what that means, what that right we have, what that freedom we have, and So when I've started talking to them about it, and they were like, "We're in." It's not like a normal charity, but it's important. It's an important message. Important education is important, especially with the way this is affecting the world right now.
Have you ever been approached by a charity where you're like, nah, like there was something missing, there was a component missing, or something that you didn't like? Do you sort of ask to see like the actual, not saying budget, but like do you get to see numbers?
I do. As a matter of fact, I won't name names. But there was a charitable organization that kept calling me, and I went and I helped them, supported them one time, and they kept reaching him, like you said with your mom. Once you don't donate, now they know they've got you.
Yeah.
And so I finally said, how do I know what you do? What you're doing, and they opened their books to me and showed me that everything they were doing was genuine and real. And I said, okay, all right, I'll stay with you. By the way, this is important for your people to know. There is an awesome free website. It's called Charity Navigator.
Okay.
Charity Navigator. It rates all of the charities and tells you how much of the money that they raise goes to the cause, how much goes to and their corporations, by the way. One of the things, I was with March of Dimes, and 75 cents on the dollar goes to the cause. That's a very good rate. There is many big organizations out there that aren't nearly a quarter or half goes to the cause. But I was still taken aback after working with them for a long time when I found out that the CEO of March of Dimes gets $1 million a year salary.
That's a lot.
And that it's a corporate staff of people that they are working there, being paid, and they have like that corporate expectation to get their numbers up. And here, all my people for the March of Dimes, and I'm not singling out March of Dimes, it's just a personal experience, all working for free, the goodness of our hearts, all the right reasons, but all the people we were interfacing with at March of Dimes were all salaried employees that were, this was their job. It wasn't a passion project for them. It was their job. And so that took me back a little bit. And I sort of said, I want to work with, that's when I got involved with the food banks, places where I was seeing where the money was going. I was meeting the people who were being helped. And the Charity Chapin was a Long Island food bank. So I'd meet people at the food bank, and I would see the people, that was more tangible. So I've gotten to a point where I like to know for a fact the money's going to the right places. So Charity Navigator, it's so easy to use as an app. When I'm in a store and somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hey, would you donate some money?" Hold on a second. Charity Navigator. No, I don't know, man. You only got 2 stars out of 5, and it says here and they're like, "Ooh, So Charity Navigator, can't recommend it more highly enough, I should say.
It's interesting is that I remember reading an interview with Brian Johnson from AC/DC maybe 20 years ago, and he was talking about the fact that there were some people who would criticize the heavy music scene, and I know this is why Dio did the Hearing Aid Project, Stars back in the 80s for African famine relief, but like the idea that, metal bands weren't charitable, this or that, and I think he said, we do a lot of charity work, but we don't always like to talk about it. It's not that they don't want to promote it, but they don't want to make it, I guess he didn't really, and it's a very kind of blue collar thing, not making it about them. It's about, just doing it because you're supposed to do it.
Yeah, well, and there is a lot. I know Bon Jovi's involved, and Paul Stanley's involved with that, with people with deformities and stuff like that. He has that ear thing himself. Again, connecting to a charity. There's many people doing great charitable work, but you should do it with a degree of humbleness. And and as I used to say every time I go to one of these rallies, I know you're not here for me. I know it's Dee Snider's ride, and I know I'm, but I know that next week you guys will be out there supporting another cause. So I appreciate, thank you for the support, and you got to have a degree of humbleness. It can't be an ego-driven. If you're doing it for ego, then you're just going to sign a guitar and and say, good luck with the auction, something like that. But to actually get down there, get dirty, show up for meetings, show there for every week for the different we'd have meetings once a month, and I'd be there at every one, and people couldn't believe it. He's actually showing up, but that's part of it to make sure that it's being run properly and that it's living up to your expectations as an organization. You want something that is really helping people and not being used. And there are people out there who use charity to get rich. And it's unfortunate.
I know John has the Soul Food Kitchen. He's got his kitchen there in New Jersey. And he occasionally goes in and washes dishes. I know obviously he's got his rock star life, but I've noticed he's made a point about doing it. And it is a tricky line to walk because you have a name, you have name recognition. But then if you do it too much, it can be a problem. And obviously, when I was saying to you about researching things, I remember Christopher Reeve I believe he started the Creative Coalition back in the 80s because a lot of Hollywood celebrities do the red carpet thing, and some of them would speak about a cause they knew about, and then a lot of them wouldn't. And he's like, if you're going to get out there, you need to know what you're talking about for a variety of reasons. One of it's don't look like an idiot. Another one's you don't want to make it bad for the charity either. If you actually are speaking out about something you don't really know about.
Oh yeah, yeah, yes. You don't want to show, yeah. But you said something just just a moment ago about you didn't say spreading yourself too thin, but that is something as well that So again, once they see that you do charitable work, you start getting calls, and there's an availability issue, which is a thing. But also, I would always say, listen, I'm working with this organization. I want my contributions to have value, and I don't want people. Dee Snider's asking for this, and then he's asking for that, and he's asking for this, and he's asking for that. I don't want to be that guy. And I guess there's sort of nothing wrong with it, but again, I want it to have some value. That that I'm working with this organization. So like I said, I was with the March of Dimes, and that was my cause for quite a while. Then it went to the Harry Chapin food banks, LI Cares it was called, and I worked with them very exclusively. Then I got involved with what do you call it? With Chris Angel. He's got his help, children's cancer, and he and I did this version of We're Not Going to Take It. Have you seen it?
It was a while ago. Yeah, he was at you in the desert,
we did
playing
a piano and
yeah.
vocal version. The thing went viral, and that was such an important cause. But I'm going to be doing something with Chris again, and then I just try to not be all over the place shouting because I'm a loud voice, but it gets annoying after a while if he's constantly shouting, we need this and we need that. Oh, really? I can't talk to you now. Decline. Did I lose you? Are you still here?
Good. No, you're still there.
Good. So anyways, just try not to be the guy who's crying. Like it seems like you're crying wolf, but it saddened me when I heard that not enough people are really stepping up and sharing an organization and really getting behind it. I think John Bon Jovi is, bravo, John, and there are others, but a lot of people just have their names on the board. They're a part of the board, but they've got really no involvement beyond that.
Well, I remember at Comic-Con, there was one guy that mentioned the fact that I know you gave to an organization that helps homeless veterans.
Yeah, that was recently on. That was my family won big on Celebrity Family Feud.
Yes,
and we competed for homeless veterans. And to me, homeless is a big problem. I live in LA now. But the idea that veterans, people who served our country, that they're on the streets and suffering, that's just unfathomable to me. That these people that have given so much, and many of them, it's because of injuries they suffered or addictions they developed or the post-traumatic stress. I mean, so they, some gave, all gave some gave all. These men and women gave all, and now they're on the street. It's inconceivable to me.
Yeah, and your dad was a veteran too.
My dad is a vet, and a cop and a first responder, So I grew up with these people, and a lot of my friends are vets, and and how grateful I am to veterans. I lived the American dream because they served. As we talked about earlier, the draft ended when I was in high school. Right before I was supposed to be drafted, it ended. And then because of that, I got to go and just be a rock and roller and pursue a rock and roll dream. And, and we have a volunteer army and so many wonderful volunteers that they have not started the draft up again. There's been no need because there are men and women willing to volunteer to serve and protect our country. We've got to be grateful to these people and support them and appreciate them and respect them, and I feel that's something has changed for the better over the years. There's broad respect for the military. No matter where you stand, left,
Right.
right, center, whatever. There was a time where there was, back during Vietnam War and stuff, you heard about it, they were being spit on. You don't see that at all anymore. But at the same time, we need to appreciate it.
What I think is interesting too is that, I mean, your dad was tough on you, and there was that militaristic mindset, and it did in a way help push you into being a rock and roller. But it's cool that then when you come back, you still respect where he had been. It wasn't like totally rebelling against your upbringing. You're like, you started, you and your dad started, and you can definitely tell from he's not going to take it, and even, in your memoir that you started to understand each other better.
Oh, where our relationship was and where it's come. He was there. I brought him with me to Washington that day, by the way.
Yeah,
he was
did.
there,
Right.
Which was really interesting, an odd kind of thing. But I knew he would appreciate going to Washington, and here his son was, getting as up close and personal as you can get. But yeah, I've come to look. I know now, that he had me 2 years after coming out of hand-to-hand combat on the front lines in Korea, killing men with bayonets. I mean,
Yeah.
And how do you go? And you saw, I remember in the movie Rambo, but Rambo talking eloquently at one point about coming back and expecting to just blend back into society. So the fact that he did that on any level, but to not bring that sergeant in the military mentality back with you. And he was over there when he's like 19, 20 years old. I go, holy crap. You're fighting at 19, 20. That's just again, insane. So I came to, always had respect for him for serving. He was my hero on that level. But how does that affect you as a man? And how does that affect how you are with your children? And is it an excuse? Not really an excuse, but you need to have a little more understanding about the scars and the things that he carried with him, And, my father always likes to take credit for making me, turning me into the whatever I became. And you know what? It was a few years ago, Father's Day, I thanked him for making me tough and making me strong. And as the words coming out of my mouth, I go, I can't believe you're saying this. But he was my muse. He was my I'll show you, I'll prove to you. But at the same time, as a father and as an adult and having raised a family, I understood better, that everything he did, as weird as it was out of love, of trying to provide the best and protect me the only ways he knew how, and and that was by grounding me and not letting me rock and not letting me play with the band and all those things. But he thought he was doing me a favor. He thought he was helping me. And as I came to realize that, our relationship is actually really good now.
And for your last charitable act of the day, I would like to see the view of the Caribbean that but you're in Belize?
Yes, we're an hour. The sun has gone down now. And
wow.
Yeah, we built a house down here, and we've been just 70. That beach is ours, and that's our ocean. And
Wow.
Life does not suck. Did you see it? Were you able to see? Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Spend my days under the palapa, writing, creating. I wrote frats under that palapa over there, if you can see it. And I have my coffee under that palapa. I never watch the news. I have no idea what's going on. I just know the Caribbean's still there, and that's all I need.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks, man. It was great to chat with you again.
Yeah, great to talk to you too, man.